Morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to Sandy Bottom Homestead. We're going to look at the seed shelf today. We've had some crappy weather. We've been getting some ice and it has been below freezing for 2 days. It's coastal North Carolina. What can I say? It's cold. It's going to warm up soon and we've got to get prepared. So what do we do when our peppers and tomatoes and stuff start to overgrown? Now I'm almost to the point to when I'm going to up pot, but I want to show you what we're dealing with and what I'm talking about, and then you can make your decision. And I'm also going to tell you when I go to do my pepper plants how I'm going to adjust those plants so that they're going to produce more throughout the year. The pepper plants are coming along. Check them, check them, check them. So yeah, we've got some good growth going on here. We've got our jalapenos in these 2 rows. We've got our wax peppers, Hungarian wax. We've got a row of cayennes. We've got some more jalapenos. These are our purple peppers. And then, I can't read my writing, but yeah, we got some other bell peppers here. And so we've got all of these, and you can see how big they're getting in comparison to our tomatoes, which the fertilizer is just starting to kick in. Uh-oh. Look at that. I got to live up to what I said I was going to do this year. Oh look, I trimmed it and then it fell and it rerooted. So there's that. Now real quick on the notion of tomatoes and stuff like that, I told you guys I needed some husk tomato seeds. I had missed the boat on it and I got some from a couple of you in the mail. Y'all sent me a lot of seeds, which I greatly appreciate. What I want to do is I'm going to grow those seeds. But then I'm going to grow those plants and I'm going to give them away to you guys. So what I'll do is I'll grow them. There's going to be a limit to what you can get because there's got to be enough for everybody. But I'll put it out there and then maybe we can meet up somewhere around my area and y'all can come and get some free husk tomato plants. Look, the first time I don't eat tomatoes at all. I hate them. But the first time I went to a farm stand and they had husk tomatoes, this was in New England. And the guy was like, hey, have you ever had these? And I was like, no. I was like, I don't eat tomatoes. He's like, try one. He's like, look, he's like, you betting, man? I said, no, I don't ever bet. I lose. He goes, all right, well, how about this? You're going to take a bet today. Try a tomato. If you don't like it, you can have anything you want for free. But if you like it, you got to buy a container of them. I said, all right, no problem. Because we were doing all of our grocery shopping at the time at this farm stand. So I ate this husk tomato. And as much as I hated to admit it, I was like, it's really good. And he was like, see you there? And he's like, how about this? Buy one. I said, all right, I told you I would. He gave me 3 containers and we ate all of them. They taste like a pineapple. They're amazing. So if you guys want to do that, I just want to give back. You guys were so generous to me. Thank you so much. It's truly touching. So we're going to try and give them back the best we can. But back to the video. This was all part of the design. So you can see now that we have our shelf. We've got a little bit of storage going on here. This needs to get cleaned out soon. And then if you come up here, we've got our sweet potatoes starting to grow. Interestingly enough, the small sweet potatoes that are up front are starting to produce more than the big potatoes in the back. So just take that for what you want. This one's just about ready to be trimmed off and put in. I want to wait until I get 2 that I can cut to put into a jar of water, and we'll get there soon enough. But I just wanted to give you a little bit of update on our sweet potatoes. We are continuously running a heat pad underneath it. So it always has heat on it. I do check it because these are kind of cheap pads to see if they're still working, and it is. And these continuously run. So as we get slips off these, we will cut them and then remove them. Now these are by design to be potted up earlier than our tomatoes. So our tomatoes are coming along. You can see they've really started to grow. Like I said earlier, the fertilizer is starting to kick in. If we peek in here through the top, you can see there's a little bit of a bare patch here, and this has been happening for some reason in this spot. I don't know what's going on. I do know this row right here is all eggplants and they're a lot slower. So that is something, but we just have to keep our eye on this. And again, we've got another scraggler, so we're gonna pull that and just drop it, and we'll keep growing them. So we aren't gonna up pot these yet. These peppers are getting really close. They've gotten so big now that I've adjusted my light, and if I try and hold the camera straight, you can see how it's at an angle. So we have them, we're just continuously raising them. I watered them yesterday, and They're going to need water again in about a day. So what that tells me is they're starting to fill up the seed trays. So what we're going to do is we're going to repot them. But when we do, we're not only going to repot them, but I'm going to clip the top off of all these plants right here. When I clip it, the plant's going to look at it and it's going to say, uh-oh, we need to produce more roots. So it's going to shoot down, the energy will go up, it'll stop at that cut, and it'll come back down, form more roots, and then what'll end up happening is that plant's going to split. Okay, and so that's how you're going to get bushier plants. So what we want to do is we want to do that now, and then when we go to harden them off outside, or maybe when we go to plant them, something like that, we're going to clip those two again. And so what we're going to end up having by the time we move them outside is we should have the beginning of 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 branches. And then that would be about it. I may trim them one more time when I get out there, but that'll be just about enough. So that's how you're going to get more peppers, more surface area to create more flowers, to create more peppers. Now, these are probably starting to get a little bit of root bound. What I want to do is I just want to come through and just easily fan through and peel these apart and see if I can see any flower buds forming. If they are, that is a sign that in fact they are getting root bound and they're trying to survive and spread their seed. So you can see if we go over here to this dense mass we have here, if we don't repot these soon and give them more actual space around them, they're going to start shading out. So we definitely need to get on top of that. And you can see like this pepper right here. See how it's starting to grow at an angle? It's trying to find the light. So this is a good sign that it is time to make that change. So we're going to keep an eye out for any, look, this one right here is just starting to show. See if I can get it in the light for you. Just starting to show flower buds, possibly. So once we trim that, that's not a problem. It'll stop that issue. And then we shouldn't have any more buds because we're going to put them in much bigger pots. I use those 3-inch long square pots, and I have trays to put them in. So the reason why I showed you the status of my shelves and how they're being used for storage and mentioned that I need to clean it up is because this, when I get all of this right here repotted, every single one of these, it'll turn into two levels of plants. So each tray that they're going into is going to be double. So one tray will turn into 2 trays, so on and so forth. So we need to get that prepared and get that ready. So it's always an interesting thing around here when we look at these, because we do this and it's like, oh, we got plenty of space, but the next thing you know, you start to up pot and you don't have plenty of space. So these 4 10x20 trays will turn into 8 10x20 trays, which will take up these 2 shelves, and we're completely prepared for that. And then the next shelf we have here, we've got our failed spinach we've got to get rid of. And what I'm going to do up here is we're going to continue with our sweet potatoes all the way up until the last possible minute. So we're going to be growing sweet potatoes in here, and then when we can get them outside, hopefully get them into the greenhouse after our last frost date, and then they can grow even more out there. We'll have one space used for a jar, which is where this watering container is. So visualize that. And then we're going to have another tray here, which, by the way, these are some jade bonsais that I'm rooting from cuttings. So they're just trying to survive through winter. We're going to have another tray here, and that's going to be our husk tomatoes that we'll keep here. So we'll keep those here, and then we're going to do one final tray of flowers here. So we'll do our marigolds, we'll probably do some zinnias. I may start some sunflowers early, I don't know. I'm not really good at growing sunflowers. I don't take care of them like I should. So I'll probably do that inside because the squirrels will dig them up and eat them. So we'll probably do a tray of that. And then this whole shelf will be completely filled. So at some point, we need to consider that we still got a bunch of seeds to start. We still got to do our cucumbers and squashes and all that stuff. So we need to figure out how we're going to manage this shelf well and get it all set up so that we can get another tray, at minimum, one tray of this stuff in. So what we plan to do is these flowers, once we get them started and they get growing, we're going to try and get them out in the greenhouse as early as possible, so that they can take advantage of that heat and we can open up another space hopefully, and get us some time on here to get some of these, you know, our, I can't say it, cucurbits going, so our squashes and stuff like that, melons, okras, stuff like that, and get these areas going. And then once this comes out too, we'll have more space, because the way that I've got my plan set up for my garden is quite simple. Not everything has to go in at the last frost date, so I'm waiting on things to be harvested, and when those things can be harvested, then those will come out. So that gives me a little bit of playroom after my first frost date, which means a lot of these seeds will be started outside. I don't have to start them inside. I can stick them in 3-inch round pots outside where I have a lot more, so I can make all the space I want and then do it that way. So that's what we're going to try and do. Every year it gets tight, but as these plants start to spread and get bigger and bigger, we're going to have to start getting more and more creative. And what could end up happening is, because, and this is really important, because we have these trays that are easily manageable, and then we have trays like this right here that can hold them and be moved easily. We may end up, if the weather gets right, be moving these in and out as our frost days come and our days get nice, hardening these off earlier to create more space. That looks like is we would end up probably moving some of these plants outside to start hardening off about 2 weeks before our last frost date, but we'll be bringing them in probably, I would imagine 50% of the time they'd come in at night. So even if we move 2 of the trays out, and the first 2 trays I'd move out would be the tomatoes, because they're a little bit more hardy than the peppers, then we can create space in here. If we're just moving them inside, we don't have to put them back on the shelf. They're going to be outside during the day. We can move them back inside at night. They can just sit on the floor by the door and then move them back out in the day. And it's just something that we have to do to create even more space. This is the issue right here, but our sweet potatoes are really important for us because they store for so long. So this is how we kind of manage this whole area. But as far as up potting these go, we're going to do that. We're aiming for March 1. So I don't have the date on my watch. I don't even know why I looked. We're going to do the, we've got about 10 days, 8 days until March. So we've got about a week. And then we're going to try and do it there and start spreading this out, making more room, and then getting it going in the right direction. And I would imagine that these tomatoes would be maybe a week or 2 behind them to be uppotted. So we're spreading it out so it's not such a big job. And if you look at these pepper plants, be told this tray needs to be done before this tray. This tray is a little bit smaller, so we've got a little bit more time, but this tray, for whatever reason, has really taken off, and we're going to take advantage of that. And so we can move this down and then separate these so we don't have this overlap here. So this is all stuff we manage when we do this crazy packing in plants and stuff like that. So we've got a jungle going on in here. We're going to keep it going as long as possible, but we're just going to try and create more space, move this tray down, move this tray over, give it a little bit of a gap here, and then just kind of keep it going in the right direction. And the one issue that I can foresee is these eggplants here are very small in comparison. So we've got, let's see if I can tease this off. Yeah, so some of them are starting to grow, but then you go back here, these are very small, so they just need more time before we can up pot them. Maybe a little sloppy, but what we may end up doing is leaving those eggplants and just those eggplants in that big giant tray by themselves for a week or 2 if we have to, until we can get everything spread out. So you can see there's a little bit to it, but this is part of it. You know, it's better than I did last year when I put lettuce and eggplant in the same tray, and then that was a total nightmare. So we're just going to keep it moving in the right direction, keep things going, and no matter what the weather brings us at this point, I know one thing: our last frost date is coming fast, and I'm excited about it. Let us know in the comments below if you're excited about your frost date and what the first thing you're going to plan out this year is. And we're just going to keep going. No matter what the weather is outside, we're growing them in here, they're protected, and we're just going to keep it going in the right direction. And these are the only plants that I'm up potting in my entire collection.